The medical ship Hope's light shuddered as another blast from the Galactic Empire's warship struck its hull. Dr. Chen steadied herself against the surgery pod, her hands never leaving her patient's chest cavity. The young colonist's heart had stopped beating 3 minutes ago, but she refused to give up. Engineering reports critical damage to sectors 3 through 7, the ship's AI announced in its maddeningly calm voice. Hull breach imminent. Why aren't they responding to our distress calls? Dr. Chen's assistant wiped sweat from her brow. We're clearly marked as a medical vessel. The answer came in the form of another violent impact that sent medical supplies crashing to the floor. Through the viewport, Dr. Chen could see the Empire's massive warship positioning for another strike. Its sleek, predatory form blotted out the stars, dwarfing their hospital vessel. They know exactly what we are, Dr. Chen said, her voice tight as she worked to restart her patient's heart. That's why they're attacking. The ship's AI chimed again. Message incoming from Imperial Command. A cold voice filled the medical bay. Attention human vessel. Your continued provision of unauthorized medical services to non-human species violates Imperial Genetic Preservation Act 447B. Prepare for immediate termination. Dr. Chen's hands froze. The medicine they carried, treatments for a devastating plague on the colony world of New Haven, would die with them. Thousands would suffer, humans and aliens alike. What about the oath? She whispered. First, do no harm. The Empire had made their position clear, human medical knowledge was too dangerous to share. As the warship's weapons powered up for a killing blow, Dr. Chen closed her eyes. But the expected impact never came. Instead, a new voice crackled through the ship's speakers, deep, authoritative, and undeniably human. Imperial vessel, this is Admiral James Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Fleet Dormant Division. You have attacked a civilian medical ship in violation of galactic law. Stand down immediately. Dr. Chen's eyes snapped open. Earth Defense Fleet. There hadn't been a human military presence in space for over 200 years. Yet through the viewport, she watched in awe as massive shapes emerged from seemingly empty space, warships of ancient human design, their hulls bearing the faded insignia of Earth's nations. The Empire had forgotten why humans had chosen peace. They had forgotten that before humanity had become the galaxy's healers, they had been its most fearsome warriors. They were about to remember. Deep beneath Earth's oceans, in the ancient facility known as Station Atlantis, systems that had lain dormant for centuries hummed to life. Cryopods opened one by one, releasing their long-sleeping guardians into a world that had almost forgotten them. Admiral Rodriguez stepped from his pod, muscles remembering their strength with each passing moment. The medical ship's distress call had triggered protocols set in motion generations ago, protocols created by those who understood that peace must sometimes be defended with force. Status report, he commanded, his voice rough from 2 centuries of silence. The station's AI responded instantly, Earth Defense Fleet activation sequence at 67% completion. 347 vessels responding worldwide. Crew revival progress at 42%. Rodriguez studied the holographic display showing dots of light emerging from Earth's oceans, mountain ranges, and desert depths. Each point represented a warship hidden by their ancestors, vessels that combined humanity's most advanced military technology with the wisdom of centuries of warfare. The Empire is targeting our medical ships, his second-in-command, Commander Walsh, reported as she joined him at the display. Her own cryopod had finished its revival sequence minutes earlier. 3 attacks in the past week alone. The Hope's light was just the latest. Rodriguez nodded grimly. They fear what we represent. Our ability to heal any species, to cure what they declare incurable, it threatens their control over their member worlds. The display shifted to show footage from other medical vessels under attack. The Empire's systematic campaign was clear, they meant to erase humanity's influence from galactic medicine. Sir, Walsh's voice tightened. New attack detected. The Mercy's Dawn is under fire in the Centauri sector. Rodriguez watched as more ships rose from their hiding places around Earth, their ancient engines igniting after centuries of sleep. The sight filled him with both pride and sadness. They had hoped these weapons would never be needed. The Empire forgot something crucial about humanity, he said, reaching for his command uniform, preserved perfectly in its sealed container. We didn't become healers because we were weak. We chose to heal because we understood the cost of war better than any species in the galaxy. A junior officer rushed in, face pale. Admiral, we're detecting Imperial fleet movements. Multiple battle groups converging on human colonial worlds. They mean to eliminate our medical presence entirely, Walsh concluded. No. Rodriguez's eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. They mean to force us back to war, to prove their propaganda that humans are too dangerous to trust with advanced medical knowledge. He straightened his uniform, the gold insignia catching the light. But they've miscalculated. We didn't abandon our weapons because we feared using them. We hid them because we respected their power. Throughout Earth's oceans, mountains, and deserts, more ships emerged. Vessels designed with a singular purpose, to protect humanity's right to heal. Their hulls bore the scars of battles fought centuries ago, during humanity's first encounters with hostile alien life. Each ship carried not only weapons but also the most advanced medical facilities ever created, a reminder of what they fought to defend. Signal the fleet, Rodriguez commanded. Priority 1 is the protection of medical vessels and facilities. We are not here to conquer or destroy, but to defend our right to heal. As the ancient warships took up defensive positions around Earth and its colonies, the Empire's forces faced an uncomfortable realization: they had awakened something far more dangerous than mere weapons. They had roused the guardians of humanity's compassion, warriors who had mastered both the art of healing and the science of war. The real question was, could the Empire survive its own mistake? Dr. Chen stared at the medical data scrolling across her screen, her hands trembling. The Hope's Light had found refuge in an ancient Earth facility on Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon. Here, surrounded by centuries-old medical archives, she had finally discovered why the Empire feared human medical knowledge so deeply. This can't be right, she muttered, cross-referencing the genetic analyses. Run it again. The facility's AI complied, but the results remained unchanged. Humans weren't just good at healing other species, they were uniquely engineered for it. Their genetic structure contained markers that allowed them to adapt and create treatments for virtually any species. It wasn't a natural evolution. Someone made us this way, she whispered. Long before we encountered the Empire. The door to her laboratory slid open, admitting Admiral Rodriguez. Despite his centuries in cryo-sleep, he moved with the precision of a much younger man. You found something. It wasn't a question. Dr. Chen nodded, gesturing to the displays. The Empire isn't afraid of our medical knowledge, they're afraid of what we are. Our entire species was designed to be universal healers. That's why we can cure diseases that baffle their best minds. Rodriguez studied the data, his expression grim. And they've been harvesting our research, trying to replicate our abilities. Yes, but it's more than that. Chen pulled up another screen, showing failed Empire experiments. Every attempt they've made to copy our healing capabilities has backfired. Their genetic structure can't handle the adaptations. Instead of creating cures, they're creating plagues, Rodriguez finished. That's why they're desperate to shut down our medical ships. They're not just afraid of our abilities, they're afraid their failures will be discovered. A sudden alert flashed across the screens. Chen's heart sank as she read the incoming data. They've attacked the medical research station on New Haven. The whole colony is under quarantine. Rodriguez's communicator chimed. Admiral, Imperial forces are moving against all major human medical facilities. They've launched something at New Haven, some kind of biological agent. Chen's blood ran cold. They're using their failed experiments as weapons. If those plagues spread, they'll blame it on human medical interference, Rodriguez concluded. The perfect excuse to eliminate our presence from galactic medicine entirely. But Chen wasn't listening anymore. She was staring at a new data set, her mind racing. Admiral, look at this. The Empire's failures, they're not random. Each attempt to replicate our abilities created a specific type of plague. If we combine this data with our ancient medical archives, understanding dawned in Rodriguez's eyes. We can create a cure. Not just for individual plagues. For all of them, Chen finished. We can prove that humanity's gift is meant to heal, not harm. But we'll need access to the Empire's research data. Rodriguez straightened, his decision made. Then we'll get it. The ancient fleet wasn't just built for defense, it was designed to protect our mission as healers. He turned to leave, then paused. Doctor, why do you think we were engineered this way? Who gave humanity this gift? Chen looked up from her work, her eyes reflecting the determination that had driven humanity's healers for generations. Perhaps that's the wrong question, Admiral. The real question is, what do we do with this gift now? As if in answer, another alert sounded, more Imperial ships, more attacks on human medical facilities. The Empire was escalating, turning their failed experiments into weapons of mass destruction. They didn't realize they had just given humanity's ancient guardians the one thing that could justify full-scale intervention, a chance to heal not just individuals, but the entire galaxy. The war for humanity's right to heal had become a race to save everyone, including their enemies. The ancient Earth warship Hippocrates hung in space above New Haven Colony, its massive hull bristling with both weapons and medical arrays. From the bridge, Admiral Rodriguez watched the Imperial fleet approach, 30 ships strong, their formation designed to overwhelm through sheer numbers. "They're hailing us," Commander Walsh reported. The Imperial commander's hologram appeared on the bridge, his scaled features twisted in what passed for a smile. "This is your final warning. Withdraw your forces and surrender all medical facilities, or we will be forced to take decisive action." Rodriguez stood, his voice calm. "We know about the plagues, Commander. About your failed experiments with human medical technology. Stand down, and we can help you contain them." The Imperial commander's expression shifted to one of genuine surprise before hardening. "You understand nothing. The weak must be culled. Our empire was built on strength, not mercy. Your species' obsession with healing the unworthy undermines the natural order." "All ships," Rodriguez commanded as the transmission ended. "Defensive formation Delta. Remember your training, even from centuries ago." The battle erupted with a fury that turned space itself into a canvas of light and shadow. Imperial ships struck with overwhelming force, expecting the ancient human vessels to crumble. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that had perfected the art of defensive warfare. The Hippocrates and its sister ships moved in perfect coordination, their shields adapting to each attack. Centuries ago, humanity had learned that the best way to win a war was to make it impossible for the enemy to land a killing blow. Deep within the Hippocrates, Dr. Chen worked frantically in the medical bay, analyzing data from the plague victims on New Haven. Each Imperial attack shook the ship, but the medical facilities remained steadfast, protected by layers of ancient technology. "Doctor," one of her assistants called out, "we're receiving a transmission from inside the Imperial fleet." Chen rushed to the console. The message was heavily encrypted, using medical codes that only human doctors would recognize. As she decoded it, her eyes widened. "Admiral," she called over the ship's comm, "we have allies within the Empire. Their own medical personnel, they've been secretly working with human doctors for years. They're sending us their research data. On the bridge, Rodriguez watched as a group of Imperial ships suddenly broke formation, their weapons powering down. The Imperial commander's enraged voice filled the command channel. "Traitors! You dare side with these human vermin? We dare to honor our oaths," a new voice responded, an Imperial doctor, her transmission now broadcasting on all frequencies. "We swore to preserve life, not destroy it. Humanity showed us that healing transcends species, politics, and pride." The battle paused as more Imperial ships stood down, their crews choosing healing over hatred. The Imperial commander's flagship launched a barrage of missiles in desperation, not at the human fleet, but at the traitor ships. "Not this time," Rodriguez whispered. The Hippocrates moved with impossible speed, its ancient shields extending to protect both human and Imperial vessels alike. "All ships, contain and disable the commander's forces. Minimal casualties. Remember what we fight for." In the medical bay, Chen and her newly expanded team, human and Imperial doctors working side by side, raced against time. The combined data was revealing patterns they had never seen before, showing how the Empire's failed experiments could be reversed. "Look at this," an Imperial doctor pointed to a genetic sequence. "The plague doesn't just attack the body. It's designed to enhance aggression, to make infected populations more warlike." Chen's hands flew over the controls. "They weren't just trying to replicate our healing abilities. They were trying to weaponize them, to turn our gift into a tool for conquest. But in doing so, they created the perfect evidence of why healing must remain free from political control," the Imperial doctor finished. Above New Haven, the battle was ending. The Imperial commander's forces, faced with opposition from both humans and their own people, had no choice but to stand down. But Rodriguez knew this was just the beginning. "Dr. Chen," he called. "Status report." Chen looked at her diverse team of healers, all working together despite centuries of mistrust. "We can cure the plague, Admiral. But more importantly, we can prove why humanity's gift of healing must be shared freely. The Empire's own weapons have given us the key to ensuring medical knowledge can never be restricted again." As if to underscore her words, another wave of Imperial medical ships dropped out of hyperspace, not to fight, but to heal. The battle lines had been redrawn, not between species or political factions, but between those who would use knowledge to harm and those who would use it to heal. The Empire's greatest weapon had become its greatest weakness, the truth about why healing must remain free. Earth's orbital defense grid lit up like a constellation as the largest Imperial fleet ever assembled dropped out of hyperspace. Hundreds of warships filled the sky, their weapons charged and ready. At their center, a vessel twice the size of any other cast a shadow over the planet, the Imperial flagship Eternal Dominion. Admiral Rodriguez stood in the Hippocrates Command Center, surrounded by holographic displays showing Earth's defenders, the ancient fleet, now joined by Imperial medical ships and vessels from a dozen alien races who refuse to let humanity stand alone. "They've brought everything," Commander Walsh observed. "Their entire home fleet." "No," Rodriguez corrected, studying the tactical display. "Look at their formation. Those aren't just military vessels, they're medical evacuation ships, modified for combat. They're desperate." On the Eternal Dominion's bridge, Supreme Commander Voss watched Earth grow larger in his viewport. The plague burning through his body made his scales itch, a constant reminder of his species' failed attempt to harness human medical technology. Behind him, his own medical officer collapsed, another victim of their hubris. "Begin the assault," he ordered. "Destroy their medical facilities first. We end this today." The battle erupted with an intensity that made the previous encounters look like mere skirmishes. Imperial ships launched waves of fighters and biological weapons, trying to overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer numbers. But humanity's ancient fleet had been built for exactly this scenario. Ships that had hidden beneath Earth's oceans for centuries revealed their true capabilities. The Hippocrates and its sister vessels didn't just defend, they adapted, their shields analyzing and neutralizing each new weapon the Empire deployed. Deep within the Europa medical facility, Dr. Chen worked feverishly with her team of human and alien doctors. The combined medical data from both sides had revealed something extraordinary. The plague isn't just killing them, she explained to the gathered medical council. It's evolving. Every attempt they made to replicate our healing ability created a new strain. But look at this genetic marker, it's not random mutation. An Imperial doctor leaned forward, her eyes widening. That's impossible. This sequence, it's trying to rewrite their genetic code to match human healing capabilities. Not match, Chen corrected. Unlock. Whatever entity engineered humanity as universal healers, they engineered everyone else too. The Empire's experiments didn't fail, they activated dormant genetic code that wasn't ready to be awakened. Above Earth, the battle reached its crescendo. The Eternal Dominion launched its final weapon, a massive biological missile aimed at Earth's largest medical research facility. Admiral. Walsh's voice carried urgency. If that hits. It won't. Rodriguez's voice was calm as he activated systems that had waited centuries for this moment. The ancient fleet moved as one, their ships forming a pattern that none of their allies had seen before. Energy coursed between the vessels, forming a massive web. As the biological weapon struck this network, something remarkable happened. Instead of detonating, it was caught, contained, and transformed. Sir, a sensor operator reported in awe, the weapon, it's being converted into medical nanites. The fleet isn't just defending, it's healing. On the Eternal Dominion, Supreme Commander Voss watched in horror as his ultimate weapon was transformed into its opposite. Impossible. No technology could. He never finished the sentence. The plague finally overcame him, and he collapsed on his command deck, along with half his bridge crew. This is Dr. Chen to all vessels, her voice rang across all frequencies. We've decoded the genetic signal. The plague isn't trying to destroy you, it's trying to evolve you. But it needs a catalyst, a key that humanity has carried for millennia. Let us help you. Please. For a moment, the battle hung in balance. Then, one by one, Imperial ships began powering down their weapons. On their bridges and in their medical bays, crew members fought through the plague's fever to make one final choice: accept humanity's help, or die clinging to their pride. The Eternal Dominion's second-in-command, her own scales showing signs of infection, made the decision. This is Acting Commander Lin to all Imperial forces. Stand down. I repeat, stand down. She paused, fighting for breath. We need their help. As Earth's ancient fleet maintained its defensive web, medical ships from all species began docking with Imperial vessels. The greatest space battle in human history was ending not with destruction, but with healing. In the Europa facility, Dr. Chen prepared the first batch of the cure, not just for the plague, but for centuries of distrust between species. The genetic key humanity had carried would finally serve its true purpose, awakening the healing potential in all sentient beings. The Empire had tried to take humanity's gift by force. Instead, they had triggered the next step in galactic evolution, one that could only be achieved through cooperation and trust. The question was, were they ready for what came next? The medical bay of the Hippocrates had never been so crowded. Dr. Chen moved between beds filled with patients from a dozen species, each showing different symptoms of the Empire's plague. But it was the Imperial High Council members, the very leaders who had ordered the attack on Earth, who drew her attention most. Their genetic structure is stabilizing, she reported to Admiral Rodriguez, who stood at the entrance to the quarantine zone. The cure isn't just stopping the plague, it's completing the transformation their experiment started. Through the isolation field, they watched as an Imperial counselor's scales shifted color, developing the iridescent patterns that mark successful genetic adaptation. Similar changes were occurring throughout the galaxy as the cure spread. "They're becoming like us," Rodriguez observed. "Universal healers." "Not exactly like us," Chen corrected, studying her readings. "Each species is developing its own unique healing abilities. We weren't meant to be the only healers, we were meant to be the key that unlocked everyone's potential." A commotion from one of the beds drew their attention. An Imperial medical officer was sitting up, her newly transformed scales gleaming. She stared at her hands in wonder as natural healing energy coursed through them. "I can feel it," she whispered. "The connection to life itself. Is this what you've always felt?" Chen smiled. "Every human healer knows that sensation. It's why we could never stop helping others, even when the Empire tried to force us." The ship's AI interrupted with an urgent alert, multiple distress calls detected. Imperial medical facilities are overwhelmed with patients seeking the cure. Some regions are reporting civil unrest. Rodriguez's expression hardened. "They're afraid. Their entire society was built on the idea of strength through conquest. Now they're discovering that true strength comes from healing. Then we show them how to use that strength," Chen said firmly. She turned to the recovered Imperial medical officer. "Your people trust you. Help us teach them that this isn't about dominance, it's about evolution." Over the next few days, an unprecedented operation unfolded. Earth's ancient fleet, designed for war but armed with the most advanced medical technology ever created, transformed into the nucleus of a galactic healing mission. Imperial ships, their weapons replaced with medical equipment, joined the effort to distribute the cure. But it wasn't just about delivering medicine. In medical bays across the galaxy, human doctors worked alongside their Imperial counterparts, teaching them to understand and control their new abilities. Each species discovered they could heal in ways that even humans couldn't, unique gifts that complemented each other perfectly. The Imperial High Council, now recovered and transformed, faced their greatest challenge, rebuilding their society around healing rather than conquest. Centuries of military doctrine and social hierarchy had to be reconsidered. "Your civilization won't end," Chen assured them during a tense meeting aboard the Hippocrates. "It will evolve. Just as humanity did when we chose to become healers rather than conquerors." "But what of those who refuse the cure?" a counselor asked. "Many still believe that accepting human help, accepting change, makes us weak." Rodriguez stepped forward. "That's why Earth's fleet will remain active. Not to threaten or dominate, but to protect the right of all species to choose healing over hatred. We've guarded that right for centuries. We won't stop now." As if to underscore his words, reports arrived from across Imperial space, stories of former enemies working together in medical centers, of children from different species discovering their healing gifts, of ancient conflicts being set aside in favor of mutual growth. But it was in the Hippocrates medical bay that the most profound change became clear. Dr. Chen watched as human and Imperial healers worked together to treat a group of refugees, their combined abilities achieving what neither could do alone. "We've unlocked something greater than a cure," she told Rodriguez as they observed the collaboration. "We've unlocked the next chapter in galactic evolution." The Admiral nodded, but his expression remained cautious. "And like any evolution, there will be those who resist it. The Empire's leadership may have accepted change, but there are always those who prefer the old ways." A priority alert flashed across their screens. A group of Imperial hardliners had taken control of a major medical facility, threatening to destroy the cure rather than let their species be weakened by healing abilities. The battle for the galaxy's future was not over. It had only reached its most critical phase, the choice between evolution and extinction. The Imperial medical facility on New Haven stood as a fortress of resistance, its walls now manned by those who rejected evolution. Inside, the hardliners had stockpiled weapons, destroyed samples of the cure, and taken hundreds of patients hostage, both human and Imperial. "No more weakness," their leader, former Fleet Commander Dax, broadcast across all frequencies. We would rather die as warriors than live as healers. The Hippocrates hung in orbit above New Haven, its ancient hull gleaming in the colony world's twin suns. On the bridge, Admiral Rodriguez studied tactical displays showing the hostage situation below. They expect us to attack, Commander Walsh observed. They want us to prove that beneath our healing facade, we're still warriors. Then we disappoint them, Dr. Chen said, entering the bridge. She wasn't wearing her usual medical garb, but rather a specialized environmental suit. I'm going down there. Rodriguez turned to her. Doctor, they'll kill you on sight. Chen's smile held both determination and compassion. No. They'll try to kill me. But they're infected with the original plague, and now that we understand its true nature, I can use it to reach them. Understanding dawned in Rodriguez's eyes. The plague wasn't just trying to unlock healing abilities. It was trying to create empathy, Chen finished. Every failed Imperial experiment brought them closer to feeling what others feel. That's why they're so afraid. That's why they're fighting so hard against it. The plan came together quickly. While Earth's fleet maintained a defensive position, pointedly keeping their weapons powered down, a small medical shuttle carried Chen and a mixed team of human and Imperial healers to the facility's surface. Former Commander Dax watched their approach through fever-glazed eyes. The plague was winning, despite his resistance. Around him, other hardliners showed similar symptoms, the iridescent scales that marked the beginning of change. They're not trying to breach the defenses, one of his officers reported, confused. They're setting up a medical station. Outside our weapons range. Dax stumbled to the facility's entrance, watching as Chen's team began treating people who escaped the facility, healing them without judgment or conditions. Former enemies worked side by side, their combined abilities achieving miracles. Then Chen did something unexpected. She walked forward, alone and unarmed, stopping just within range of the facility's weapons. You feel it, don't you? She called out. The connection to life itself. The ability to sense others' pain and joy. You're not losing your warrior spirit, you're gaining something greater. The strength to heal isn't weakness. It's the ultimate expression of power.